Keith Sequeira, thank you so much for joining me on How I Made It. How is life?
It's been good. After a year and a half of everyone being scared, I think people are finally coming out of their shell a little bit. So everyone's up and about. Work is kind of happening again, so it's good to be back shooting. Also, I think now kind of people, at the cost of being a little complacent, are easing up a little. So we need to be on our guard, but at the same time, it feels good to get to some sort of normalcy.
Right. So Keith, what I hear is that, you want to do now different kind of roles. You have been a little fed up of being called a chocolate boy, and you want to do some rough and tough roles, and you want to also move away from television towards the digital space. Is that right?
Well, partially, I wouldn't say move away from television, but definitely I would like to explore digital as well. Television is also very good, and so is film. So for me, what I would say is that the medium that we are going on isn't really important. What is important is the product that I'm associated with, the role that I'm performing, and what kind of a script I'm dealing with. It's got to be exciting. I've always believed in my life that if something excites me, I'll give it my best. If it doesn't, then you can't just do things as an artist only for monetary consideration. It's got to be something else that you enjoy doing. Otherwise, you'll kind of lose focus, down the line. Being in the creative field, I think that's very important to us. So yeah, and I think I want to shift away from the regular image of Keith just being this stereotypical, for want of a better word, a model on screen looking guy. So I'm absolutely open to different kind of roles, challenging roles, something that is out of the box as well.
But was that limiting you? I mean, did this realization come to you after a couple of people told you that, you're too soft for this role, you look too handsome for this role, or something like that?
I wouldn't say too handsome for this role, but sometimes it does limit you in terms of the space that you can create in a role. People visualize you in a certain way. So if they see you repeatedly in a certain way, that's somehow how they perceive you. And yes, it works in terms of how your audience is. But I believe your audience also would like to see something different, right? The same thing again, in and out, it kind of bores you after a while. It definitely does me. So I'm always excited to see any actor performing something that is out of the box, and you're like, wow, have they done something good with this role? Are they justifying it? It's always an interesting concept.
But what I asked you was that, and you didn't answer that. Did it come in your way? Did someone tell you? And during some offers or auditions, this was told to you, and you had a sort of a reality check.
Yeah, it was playing on my mind always. And I think a journalist actually recently spoke to me. I was at an event, and she said to me, she says, Keith, I've never seen you in something which is unusual. So why have you not done anything that is different? If you, as an actor, haven't you performed anything like that? So I thought about it and I said, actually, I haven't. And yes, I would like to do that, which is why I've been creating some different looks also on Instagram and putting them out so that people can see me in different avatars, so to speak. And I think I've had a very good response. People are like, oh, we didn't see you like this. So I think it's been a very blessed and a happy time for me to achieve something that I started off with in terms of just a small step, but it's a step in a different direction. And that's always a risk, but it's a happy risk.
As a viewer, as an audience, when you're sitting at home, has your taste also changed? Say 3 years ago, you were seeing more of TV and movies, and today you're seeing web shows. Movies तो आजकल ज़्यादा release नहीं हुए हैं recently, but of course होंगे अभी. So what I'm trying to ask you is that is the home viewing changed? Has that deviated from just television?
Absolutely, Vicky, जो आपने कहा बिल्कुल सही फरमाया आपने. वेब सीरीज इतनी ज़्यादा आगे बढ़ चुकी हैं, जैसे आपने कहा कि ज़्यादा फिल्में बनी नहीं हैं. तो वेब सीरीज जो बनी है पिछले 1.5 साल में, उनका जो अंदाज है, उनका जो फ्लेवर है, उनका जो स्वाद है, वो अलग है फिल्म से. And what has happened is the audience has started accepting that. So everything that is on digital is different. Whether you look at influencers, the entire profile of people who influence on social media are different. Even in web series, the content that is being generated, it's very edgy. It's very keeping you engrossed. Some of the stories are very real, taken, adapted. Some of the stories are still fictional, but treated in a way which is very believable. So I think it's entertainment on the screen has definitely changed during the pandemic, and I for sure want to be part of that change because I think it's exciting as an actor and as a consumer also.
That word influencer makes me ask you a question. Recently when we've been speaking to actors, they have been telling us that the makers have a tendency to prefer those artists who have a larger fan following on Instagram.
Absolutely.
Has that happened with you? Have you heard that?
I wouldn't say I have heard it, but from what I've seen, definitely it seems to be the way forward for producers. If you have a marketable influence, तो पहले क्या होता था कि your name used to be sell, and there was no tangible way of putting a label to it. If you're a star or whether it's a television star or a movie star or you're famous in some way as a model or whatever, you could say, okay, fine, this person generally the feeling is कि ये बहुत successful है, तो इनको अपनी film में इस role में ले लेते हैं. This will add to my film's marketability. I think that dynamic has changed now. तो अब क्या होता है कि if you have a strong digital presence, you can actually track that. There's software that actually does that. Whether you have Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, all the other social media platforms, YouTube. So वहाँ पे I think people have accepted the fact that I can take actors who have a stronger presence there and use them and bring their fan following to watch it. So it's easier to sell and to consume.
That's a marketing strategy. But these same actors have also told us that this happens sometimes at the cost of talent. I mean, a maker takes somebody who's famous on YouTube or famous on Instagram or maybe even Twitter.
Yeah.
And he is not the right person actually to do that role.
So I agree with you there, Vicky. Creatively speaking, you and I may have that opinion, but at the end of the day, a person who's pumping in money is going to see how well his product is going to sell. I think what will happen, this is the way I see it, it will eventually pan out and balance out. But I agree there could be situations where, I haven't faced that as of yet. Well, maybe. I might have been offered a role and it might have gone to somebody else who has a stronger digital presence. That's fine. But I don't see anything wrong with that. If I was a producer and if I was making something, I would want it to be sold, consumed. That's how I'm going to make my next project. I'm not here to do social service. So that's fine. It's a commercial game at the end of it. There is a very strong commercial angle to it. But I think eventually it will pan out because, you can't misfit something all the time. You can do a misfit, kabhi aap kar sakte hain. Otherwise, then it's just about people understand that and they'll say, okay, the product was good, but it was not performed well, or for whatever reason, it was not directed well, or, the marketing was great, but maza nahi aaya, 4 episode baad hum log dekh nahi paye. So I think, like I said, eventually it will even out. But this initial thing, nobody knows how to deal with this. It's like a pandemic when it hits you first. जब हमारा कोविड शुरू हुआ था, so everyone was so scared, सब लोग घर में बैठे हुए थे. अब actually देखो तो it's more contagious, it spreads easier, but there's vaccinations and people have kind of either gotten fed up or at some level have gotten used to this idea. So they're more daring. So your initial reaction, you really don't know what you're doing, and then I think eventually it kind of pans out.
You've been seeing a lot of web shows. क्या आपको लगता है कि web shows to a certain extent in certain portions, I'm not saying the full story, are getting repetitive? Certain scenes are included, just for titillation, or certain scenes are included foul language is used, and that can be avoided.
I think so. It's like I said, it's a gray area. Life is not always black and white. There are certain things that are definitely not needed, which are done purely to market a product. But why crucify only media? I mean, that's actually the case, I would say, with a lot of products. A lot of things that are sold to us that we consume as consumers are not really good for us. They've been sitting on the shelf, and they never get spoiled, but we still have conflicts. It's the worst thing to actually do to your body, but hum log le lete hain because it's sold to us like that. So I think it's done everywhere. But yeah, there are definitely, I agree with you that there is some content which doesn't necessarily have to be there, which just is that moment to titillate or, give you that sort of thing. But then if that's what the audience wants, you got to give them what they want, right? I mean, I'm sure there's people consuming it.
Will you be comfortable doing a very intimate scene, or will you have to ask your wife, Rochelle?
I don't think I'll have to ask my wife, Rochelle, to take her permission, but out of respect, I would definitely ask her if she's comfortable or not. She's not the kind of person who's sort of narrow-minded and would say, no, don't do it. But we both are on the same page that if something isn't really needed, then I don't want to do it. We're very clear about that. It's not, I don't mean to sound like I'm in charge, but I'm clear about things in the beginning. And I have actually turned down stuff which I found was very sexual, only for the simple reason, I don't know if I'd be comfortable with that if my doing in front of my kids or whatever, you know what I mean? So I wouldn't want to do that for anybody else. And like I said, it's a gray area. I mean, it's okay for a guy to take his shirt off. It's been done in films, this, that, the other. If it adds to what the story plot is in terms of storytelling, yes. But you can gauge that. I mean, we can't lie to ourselves.
You spoke about kids, makes me ask, when are the kids coming?
Yeah, everybody in this lockdown, I think, has been very busy. But right now, I think for both of us, we are actually, in fact, for Rochelle especially, there's been a complete crazy break in terms of everything going mad. With me also, things are really picking up on the digital space. So I think we'll have to a little bit wait and then go for it. But yeah, I'm guessing sooner rather than later at some point, yeah.
I read that you and Rochelle went through a counseling session.
Yeah.
In the lockdown phase.
Yeah.
How did that come about? I mean, was there a rough patch in your marriage?
No, not at all. In fact, it's something that we'd advise to every couple. Right in the beginning of the lockdown, this was not even when the lockdown had just started, maybe a week or 2 weeks into it. So we guys have a group of friends, and they are, we do sort of different things together. So it's something that they had suggested, saying that, let's do this because everyone has time. Nobody knows what to do right now. So it'll be interesting. And there's a couple that does online. They've got these DVDs and stuff like that, which you can download, and you follow it and you answer questions and things like that. And I think it's amazing. I think it's so important to do that for every couple for two reasons. One, you should never fall into a pattern with your partner. It becomes taking the person for granted. और हमारे यहाँ पे ये बहुत होता है, that हाँ ठीक है जिंदगी जी रहे हैं साथ में, लेकिन कहीं ना कहीं वो spark खत्म हो जाता है. So that's very important to sort of understand. And also I think it helps you empathize and realize why you're with that person. So it helps you tide over. I mean, every couple, including us, have ups and downs and have our good and bad moments, but it helps you sort of deal with them better.
So you are saying that the counseling you had helped you to increase the spark?
Absolutely. I think increasing the spark in a couple is more to do with understanding the other person rather than just about the looks. I mean, she's a great looking woman, and, she thinks very kind of her too, the same about me. But I think beyond that, it's also about understanding the person. I mean, that's where the bonding happens as a couple, and I think that kind of reignites the spark for sure. Because everybody grows with time.
You did Bigg Boss with her, season 9.
Yeah.
Are you still watching it?
Not as strongly, I've got to admit, as I was earlier. But I mean, that definitely helped us in the lockdown because we had been locked up before also. So we kind of, it was a second coming of Bigg Boss. But I haven't been following it as closely, I've got to admit.
Right.
I think once you're in there and you're out of it and you're thinking of other things, you follow it online, I think, more than actually watching it. At least for me, that's the case.
So online follow कर रहे हैं आप?
जी, online follow करता हूँ. Like I said, it's not a daily thing that I keep updating myself on, but generally.
Do you think the show has lost its spark, if I can use that word spark again in this interview. Last year, कोई भी अंदर आ रहा था, कोई भी बाहर जा रहा था. There was nothing, in system happening.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, because I've not been following it, I can't really comment deeply about it. But what I would say is that I guess
you know what
as
I'm
in with
about.
every... Hanji?
You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, so, that's what I'm saying, that, when I agree with you in terms of the way it was watched earlier, there was a fine balance, I feel, between being sensational and being real. I feel what has happened is because the seasons have gone on for so long, a lot of people go in prepared with a game plan, strategizing. I know I didn't go in with that. I watched a few seasons sometimes and a few episodes where I hadn't really prepared. So I think a lot of it that came out was very real. Your emotion, whether you're shouting, screaming, there's that. I think जब आप बहुत ज़्यादा game play करने जाते हैं, a lot of people said that to me, आपने बहुत अच्छा खेला. And I'm thinking to myself, मैं खेला नहीं, I was just there, So I guess people go there prepared. But I think, if you're too prepared, then you kind of lose your audience. I mean, I'm sure there's ways of working around it, but I don't know how you could do it. But you're saying the right thing. Yeah, I feel that it kind of, takes away from the program when you're too prepared.
Thank you, Keith. Thank you for this lovely interview. And I wish you all
Absolutely,
the best
Vicky.
for all your future endeavors.
Good luck, Vicky.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Keith. Thank you.
Not at all. Pleasure.